What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about the William Thomas, Leah Thomas controversy that is sweeping the internet at this time. First, I want to start this video off by stating this is simply about sports, about the issue that is going on in sports at this time. If you need to live a life however you need to live it, then go do that. Be happy. If you want to transition from a man to a woman or a woman to a man, and you need to do whatever is necessary to live your life to the fullest, to finally be comfortable in your own skin, to finally and truly be happy, then go do that. The issue isn't that. The issue is simply when it comes to sports, because there is a real issue that is sweeping the world at this time. And it's something that needs to be talked about, something that needs to be addressed, and something that needs to change. As far as you being the full self, your full person, whatever that is, whatever it takes to make you happy, that's not what this video is about. Because I accept and love everybody, and I want people to be genuinely happy. Your life decisions have no effect on me. So why would I care what and how you go about your life? Whatever it takes. I just wanted to really stress that in this video, because I know conversations like this turn into something else. And I want to just highlight and discuss and break down the sports element of this conversation, and that is it. So getting into that, this is a big problem because, again, as you see on screen, you see William Thomas. When he was a male, he was ranked number 462 in men's swimming. As soon as he transitions into a woman, Leah immediately becomes ranked number 1 and wins an NCAA title in swimming. And that's the problem, because I get it. People don't want to accept biology. People want to dismiss that and write it off. But whether you do or not, it has been proven time and time again that that exists, and that is a real thing. That is a real issue when it comes to sports. Whatever other arguments you want to talk about, fine. But sports, that is a real problem, because you're talking for a male has just born genetics that help in advantage. It's been throughout the entire history of mankind. Women are usually smaller. Men have larger bone densities. They're physically just stronger. Their size is larger. They have all of these elements. They're usually more athletic, things like that. All of these play a factor, especially in sports. And we've seen it. We're seeing it in real time with William Thomas transitioning and becoming ranked number 1. And this whole issue with sports isn't fair to women. And that's the big argument that I never see really truly addressed by the side that thinks that, hey, this is fine, this is acceptable. Because we want to talk about accepting. We want to talk about being fair to everyone across the board. Well, when you allow this to happen, you're completely shunning away the biological person that wants to compete in the sport and has dedicated their life to it. Again, take Emma Wattson, right? Emma Wattson, she was an Olympic swimmer. She has dedicated her entire life to swimming, to training. She has put the time, effort, and energy. And I'm not saying that Leah Thomas didn't either, but he did that in a male division. He was a man that grew up as such and practiced with other men and developed those skills. And yes, he transitioned into a woman and now he is Leah, but again, he still had the training and the type of regime and all of these things that go into training a male swimmer rather than a female swimmer, on top of biology being a factor. And so we're seeing with Emma, she just got the, shit end of the stick, so to speak. And that is always the issue when these competitions take place and you allow a trans woman to be involved in these sports. The female athlete that has dedicated her entire life to do this just can't compete because of biology. And also it's usually somebody that's in a sport already that transition. So you're not talking about just some random person coming off of the street and competing in women's sports. No, you're talking about somebody that has trained their entire lives in that sport as one thing, becomes another, and then competes against the women. And so it's not fair to the women athletes. So this person who is, again, an Olympic swimmer, trained her whole life for this moment, would have won this competition, but now took second place because of the circumstances. And another big major thing that needs to be addressed as well, that I don't, again, see many people talking about, are the transitions simply for competition, because that is a real thing. We have seen that even where athletes are, terrible in a male sport. So their competitive drive says, well, if I just say I am a woman, now I can compete in female sports and just dominate that. A competition aspect is a real thing. There are people that do and have done that. The problem is it's hard to really prove that, for one, and two, it's hard to really make that argument because we just live in this world where you can't really talk about that stuff. And it is an issue that needs to be addressed. I mean, Fallon Fox was a male fighter who transitioned into a female and joined female MMA. And what happened? She literally caved in a woman's skull, ran through all of her competition. She did finally run into a female and lose, but that's because Fallon didn't have any of the actual techniques as far as wrestling and stuff goes, so got submitted, which is an actual technique that you need. That's sort of like a random person coming in and fighting a wrestler. Yeah, you might be a boxer, but you don't know how to wrestle. The problem was when Fallon hit somebody, it usually was enough to really end that fight. Like I said, a woman's skull was caved in one of Fallon's fights. That is a serious thing that likely wouldn't have happened if two females were fighting each other. And again, it's an issue. It's something that needs to be addressed. And for example, is why not have a all trans league? Like, why not do that? I mean, we have divisions and different, men and women's leagues for a reason. If WNBA players could compete in the NBA, they would be in the NBA. If women could join the NFL, women would join the NFL. The problem is that, one, do you really want a female just getting pummeled by 6'8", 330-pound men running full? I mean, these guys are at the peak of athleticism. I mean, you're talking guys that are 6'8", 330 that can run faster than some track stars. Like, that's insane to even comprehend and think. And women have tried out for the NFL. Women have tried to, be kickers and various things like that, but it doesn't usually work out. Female soccer, I mean, they've tried to get, if they could get into it, well, guess what? They would be in it. Great example was the women's Olympic team. The women's U.S. national team went and played a group of, I believe it was high school boys in a game and lost like 7-0. Like that's a real thing. That's why we have different conferences for men and women. So why not do the same thing for trans? Why not have a trans league where fellow trans compete against each other? Like, what is wrong with that? There's no issue with having that. It's not diversity. It's not segregation. It is adding diversity. It's accepting and embracing these people and saying, hey, we acknowledge you enough to do and create this separate thing for you to compete at the highest level with people at your skill level. It's something that is, again, a problem. We've seen this again. We saw it within the NCAA. We saw a man who competed the year prior and then transitioned into Ceci Telfer and won the NCAA track meet. Like, that, again, is a great example. And these people that are transitioning always downplay it instead of at least embrace, accepting it. I mean, there was talks, again, this could just be pure speculation, but we've seen it with other circumstances where you had Leah basically talking about how easy the swim meet was, and basically talking down about the women that were in competition with Leah. Like, that's not acceptable. I mean, even just from a competitive nature, being a good sport, you shouldn't do that. But now you're just completely negating everything else that goes with it. And it's a problem that we keep seeing. It's not like we only have one example. It's not like Leah is the first example. No, we have, every time this happens, it's a new example. Every time we see a male athlete in said sport transition into a female sport, they completely dominate that sport. I mean, it's not even close. Because again, you're not talking about some random person coming off the street saying, hey, I want to compete in female sports. I transitioned into a woman and therefore I want to compete. No, you're talking about athletes that have already done this, already trained, already did all these things in a different sport and now are competing in women's sports. Like, there needs to be some divide in the sense of like, let's create a separate league. Let's do something, or only have them be able to compete against each other, or have something where everyone has to agree to it. Like, we've completely removed the female voice from this discussion. Like, that is everything that we're fighting for, right? That's everything that people are talking about. Like, we need acceptance, we need this, we need that. Well, you're doing that for one group, but you're suppressing the other group. Like, how is that fair? Like, and we've seen women come out and relay this and talk about this and express the disappointment, and they just get completely just mauled by society because of it. And it's like, what they're saying is valid. I mean, imagine you right now watching this video. Imagine you worked your entire life for something, whatever that is. You worked your entire, let's say you're at your job. You've been working there for 10 years to just come in and you're working your tail off and you're just, trying to get to the manager spot. And then somebody comes in and just takes your spot. You're telling me you're not going to be upset about that? Of course you are. You've worked your tail off to reach this point in your life, to reach this goal. And because society says that this is more important at the time, that becomes the case and the matter. It's like, it's not fair to females. It's not fair to the women athletes in this world that are dedicating their lives to this. You're not talking about somebody that's just working an hour a week, just try, like, hey, you know what? Today I'm going to take up swimming. Like, let's train a little bit and compete in a NCAA tournament. No, these people have dedicated from a young age all the way to now to do this. And again, that doesn't mean that the male athlete that transitioned didn't do the same thing, but they did it in a different category altogether. And so again, if you want to transition to be happy, that is fine. But either you need to have them compete in the sport that they're, were originally in, that biology says that they're in, or you need to create a separate league. That's the only two options. Because again, time and time again, we're seeing this become an issue. If it was one example, you have an argument. Okay, like that was just an one-off. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, but no, this is happening in every single sport. Like, literally all of them. Because biology just gives men an advantage, whether you want to accept it, whether you want to understand it, whatever the case may be. And I get it. This is a touchy and difficult conversation to talk about, but it's one that needs to be had. It's a conversation that needs to be addressed. It's something that needs to be talked about. Again, I'm all for people being happy. I'm all for people embracing themselves in whatever degree that is. I'm all for, people transitioning and if a man wants to transition to a woman because that's what, he really feels like he is this woman and now he's become this woman, like, that's beautiful. Like, okay, that's great. I'm happy that you're happy. I'm happy that you finally can accept yourself. But this is strictly about sports, and it is a big issue in sports. But again, as always, is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. If you disagree with me, please give me some examples. Give me some evidence. I've relayed evidence in this video. I've made an argument as to why this is an issue strictly in sports. And if somebody can disagree with me and prove why this isn't accurate, then please, because science, biology, and sample sizes based on what we've seen in the world of sports have all shown that what I'm saying is correct, that it is accurate. And you can't argue the facts. The facts are the facts. So again, either way, give me your opinion. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. I'll see you all in the next one.